Okay, and now it's time for another installment of what is fast becoming the most popular segment here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail. Guy who goes by the name Truth Teller Max didn't like my recent video about a potential Errol Spence Jr. versus Devin Haney fight.
He didn't like I implied Devin going after Errol Spence Jr. at this point in Errol's career is Devin's attempt to pick a cherry.
It's a cherry pick.
Max said that Haney versus Spence isn't a real thing. Bill Haney got asked a question about Spence by a caller on the Boxing Voice.
So fucking what if he did? The moment that the Haneys start entertaining a fight with Errol Spence Jr., it all means the same thing. Doesn't matter who asked or who brought it up.
Max said, so Tim Tszyu can fight Errol Spence, but Haney is cherry-picking him. The fight wasn't proposed by Team Haney either.
Yeah, you said that already. I'm sorry. Are you comparing Devin Haney to Tim Tszyu? Tim Tszyu, who's widely regarded as being damaged goods at this point, in your opinion, is Devin damaged goods?
You know the answer.
You don't think Devin is damaged goods because Devin hasn't lost 3 of his last 6 fights in brutal fashion. So why would you compare him to Tim? Tim fighting Errol is a very different proposition to Devin fighting Errol.
You need somebody to explain that to you.
He does, because he's got Devin's dick so far down his throat, if Errol took a piss, it'd shoot out of Max's ass.
Like a sprinkler.
So I decided to do an audit of Truth Teller Max's comments here on this channel, all of which seem to center around Devin Haney. He's obsessed with him. He proceeded to play defense attorney for Devin in the comment section, commenting under everybody else's posts.
What is it about Devin that he's so obsessed with? How could such a boring fighter elicit this kind of fandom?
I think that Devin's got the ugly duckling thing going on, and that makes him the poster child for other ugly ducklings. You will notice something about Devin Haney's fans, the guys who really like him.
Like what you notice about Gervonta's fans. They've all got tells. They've all got ticks.
Floyd Mayweather's fans, the ones who idolize him for the money he made, are usually broke. Gervonta Davis's fans and the ones who idolize him,
they're usually gay.
Whereas Devin's fans and the guys who idolize him usually look pretty fucked up. It's the only explanation for how such a boring fighter could elicit this kind of an obsession, this kind of fandom from a random stranger online.
He also doesn't like that I call Devin boring, his base style. Even though I say the same thing about Shakur, I say the same thing about Josh Kelly,
Sky Nicholson, because what they all have in common, irrespective of their different denominations and races, is that they're pure boxers. All of which I find boring.
Boring!
Don't let that go over your head while you're crying Devin Haney a river that a stranger online is not entertained by his boring base style.
Boring!
I've never denied Devin his plaudits or giving him his just due. I actually rate him on my pound for pound list. I never said he's not accomplished. I never said he's not successful. All I said was I think he's boring.
Which all boils down to preference. Do you think that arguing with strangers online will force them to fall in line with what you think?
No, he's boring. It's pretty fucking boring. And he can win as many belts as he wants across as many weight classes as he wants, but he's boring.
Still boring.
Why did you compare him to Tim? I know you like him a lot more than you like Tim.
What, because of Spence?
Because you already heard me say that I don't mind the Tim Tszyu versus Errol Spence Jr. fight. I said the same thing about Devin. I don't mind a fight between him and Devin either, but if Devin is looking at him, it's because he's looking at the low-hanging fruit.
Looking for it.
You can't strong-arm people online to like what you like. You can't make them fall in line with your way of thinking.
Try to guilt-trip them to do it with these varying whataboutisms.
You're okay with him fighting Tim? Yeah, dipshit, and I said the same thing about him. I'm okay with Devin fighting Errol. I'd watch it, but I think Devin is trying to pick a cherry.
Don't like it?
Don't watch it. Hit the fucking bricks. You're the one that came here after all. Men's welterweight news. Conor Benn talks up Wembley fight versus Ryan Garcia, but is backing Mario Barrios to ruin his plans. If Ryan gets the WBC world title, that fight is huge and sells out Wembley Stadium. But I think Ryan is a sausage, and he could get cooked, said Benn. I think Barrios is going to do it. I just feel that Ryan is a liability, and you just don't know what to expect in a game where you have to be consistent. Barrios is consistent, and consistency beats anything else.
Even when you're consistently shit? Consistently mediocre?
Conor continued, Barrios is a true, hard-fighting Mexican who's coming to fight with pride, balls, and dignity. He's fighting for legacy, which is very different from someone who is fighting for clicks and views.
I don't know that Mario's fighting for legacy more than he's fighting for money. What about fighting Ryan Garcia, who's coming off a loss, by the way, has anything to do with legacy?
Conor Benn also believes Garcia's change in training will end up costing him. Garcia is being coached by his father Henry again, after splitting from Derek James following a 3-fight run. Before James, Garcia was trained by Hall of Fame coach Joe Goosen for 3 fights and by Eddie Reynoso for 5 before that. Henry last served as the head coach for his son in 2018. That's wild for me. You don't go from different coaches back to your dad, said Benn. Is your daddy a yes man? Are you gonna listen to your dad? Ryan doesn't seem about it to me. He's making influencer money, so why is he gonna choose to do a hard sport?
I think that's the most valid point that Conor Benn made. It is true. When you've been through that many world-class trainers that have trained that many world-class fighters, why would you go back to your father? What experience does he have training world champions? Because that's what you're training to become.
It showed in the Rolly Romero fight that he wasn't prepared. Is he prepared now? He looked unbelievable in the Devin Haney fight and smashed Haney to pieces, so hopefully he pulls himself together. The fact that he is training with his dad in his living room isn't giving me good signs, said Conor Benn. Benn is the WBC's #1 contender despite not having fought at the weight since he stopped Chris Van Heerden in April of 2022. Benn is coming off a spirited doubleheader at middleweight against Chris Eubank Jr., losing the first bout via UD in the fight of the year in April, then dominating the rematch for a UD in November. During the build-up of the Barrios bout, Garcia has stated that he would give Benn a crack at his crown if he were to end up winning.
Will he?
That's definitely an opportunity that I would love to explore, said Garcia. Conor Benn has a pretty good fan base in the UK, and I would love to go international with it. We're focused on Barrios, but I would love that.
A lot of what Conor Benn said is true. It's cause for concern that, in preparation for another world title fight, Ryan has gone with Henry of all people. He's worked with world-class trainers in the past, never able to find a good fit, a relationship that works. And I wouldn't say this is the one that does. I would say he probably went with Henry because Henry won't make waves. When Ryan doesn't listen,
Henry's not gonna do shit.
but if it is true that Henry is not the man for the job to train a world champion, how could you, Ring IQ, be so confident that Ryan is gonna win?
My prediction was never based on Ryan being so good so much as Mario being so shit. Ryan Garcia doesn't work hard. He doesn't want to. What Conor Benn said is true. This guy's getting influencer money to where he doesn't have it all riding on boxing. He could be a much better fighter than he is, but even as flawed as he is, he's still better than Mario.
Or at least more talented than Mario. Faster, hits harder, and I think he's back on the peds.
Which is the main reason that I'm going with Ryan Garcia. I'm expecting the Ryan that beat Devin Haney to show up next weekend for the Mario Barrios fight. That I'm not all that interested, by the way. Price at 25 pounds in the United Kingdom and roughly $70 in the United States. For a mediocre champion in Mario Barrios coming off of 2 draws,
And a mediocre fighter in Ryan Garcia coming off a loss to Rolly Romero.
Conor Benn's rationale as to why Ryan might end up losing the fight is somewhat sound. Is there any virtue in Mario winning instead of Ryan?
For Conor?
There is. See, if you're dealing with Ryan Garcia, you're essentially still dealing with Golden Boy Promotions, and we know that Matchroom and Golden Boy don't have a warm, fuzzy relationship, a good working relationship. They don't.
But Matchroom and the PBC do?
No, not necessarily, but the PBC can't make things difficult now the way that they used to in previous years. For the PBC, the best thing they could do for Mario is rent him out to someone else like they're renting him out now. That's what they're doing. This upcoming weekend show is not a PBC show. It's not even a Golden Boy show. Turkey's paying for it.
If Mario wins, the best thing the PBC can do after that is rent Mario out to Matchroom.
For another big fight, another big payday, ship him out to the UK. They just shipped out Brandon Figueroa to the UK, and he came back with a belt. The bottom line is, Making a fight between Conor and Mario might be easier than making a fight between Conor and Ryan, even if it's smaller.
Mario doesn't have the social media following that Ryan Garcia has. A fight with Mario is comparatively smaller, but perhaps easier to make.
Because of the Golden Boy stuff, because Ryan Garcia himself is a bit of a prima donna, two guys, two very big egos.
The irony of Conor Benn's Spanish being better than Ryan's, even though Ryan's supposed to be the Mexican one.
You know that Conor Benn is fluent in Espanol, more than Ryan Garcia, the registered Jono Sabo of Victorville. Ryan Garcia is about as Mexican as a jar of borscht.
The fuck is that?
Even if Ryan and Conor is many times bigger than Mario and Conor, fight's only really big if you can make it. Who's to say that Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn can be made? That's the moral of the story. So maybe Conor actually wants Mario to win because it's easier for Conor to get him to the UK, to A-side him.
Yeah, I could see that.
Men's junior middleweight news. Former undisputed junior middleweight champion Jermell Charlo says that he feels like he's being frozen out of the big fights.
Bullshit.
I think it's been roughly 3 years since Jermell Charlo's last ring appearance, and I would not say that he's being frozen out of the meaningful fights, the significant ones. I would say that this is a guy who could have came back whenever he wanted to. At any point in the last 2-3 years, he could have scheduled any number of tune-up fights and stay busy fights to get back in position, get back in the winner's bracket, to set himself up for something bigger. If he chose to sit out the last 2 or 3 years, that's on him. He could have come back by now on the undercard of a PBC show, any of the ones they did in the last 2 or 3 years, or he could have migrated over to Pro Box, see if he could get something going over there, like Angelo Leo and Lamont Roach did.
Just to stay busy until something bigger comes along, and if you don't like the money that Pro Box is offering, you don't like what kind of purses are getting kicked out over there, why didn't you just go to Matchroom?
Use the one say you begging Eddie Hearn for a fight anyway. If you're gonna rely on Matchroom to get you fights, you might as well sign to them.
I have wrote Eddie Hearn. Hello, Eddie. Please answer my DMs if you see this message.
He gonna see it.
I want you to set up something between me and your best fighter, Boots. I'll fight your boogeyman.
Yeah.
Give me your boogeyman. Treat me right because you know I'm gonna bring your crowd. You want me to go to the UK? See me in Jack.
Yeah.
See me, you know you gotta get it right. Wait, it's the last time I spoke to Eddie Hearns. Don't outprice yourself, bro. I couldn't even get a chance. Let me price myself. You know who I am. You price me. You tell me what you value, and I'll tell you what I accept or not.
Right.
Jermell recently sat down with Najee of Cigar Talk, making his plea to Eddie Hearn to respond to his calls, respond to his direct messages.
He's willing to fight Boots.
Perhaps the reason that Eddie Hearn hasn't is because Jermell Charlo already set his asking price long ago, and it's a lot more than he is willing to kick out. Something to the tune of $10 million.
Nobody's gonna give you that.
I remember a Boxing News 24 article that stated Jermell Charlo wants $10 million for a Boots fight. And I'm sorry, Jermell, but nobody's gonna give you $10 mil for that fight because you ain't worth it. Not right now, not 2 to 3 years removed from the sport, not laying an egg in your last fight. Jermell Charlo advocated for years to get a Canelo Alvarez fight, so that when he finally got him, all he did was run. All he did was move away from the target instead of engaging him.
Do you think somebody's gonna pay you $10 million after a performance like that?
Do you remember that Cam and Mace were clowning him for that fight? Because all he did was run. To come out now, after all this time, asking for $10 million to fight Boots? What's in it for Boots? Because you ain't got no belts.
You ain't got no momentum, no buzz.
You may have been undisputed at junior middle for a time. Have been, making you a has-been.
Chose to sit out for 2 going on 3 years. What do you expect?
But I'm not completely without sympathy. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do see the value in Boots versus Charlo, depending on how it happens. If you do it this way, it's not worth anything. But if you cross over to Matchroom, sign a 2 to 3 fight deal with them, get some momentum going. You know, just the act of leaving the island, leaving the PBC, to sign to Matchroom would be enough to get people talking about you again. That this guy must be serious if he's changing his decorum.
It's a step in the right direction.
You do that, and you let Eddie Hearn get you 1 or 2 tune-up fights against Irish plumbers or British roofers.
Electricians.
Binman, essentially. Like the kind of guys they used to get for Demetrius Andrade, the Jason Quigleys and Luke Keelers of the world. Those kinds of fighters, those kinds of fights. So you can get some momentum going to where at the end of the deal, you can cap it off with a Boots fight. But going straight in,
It's not gonna work. Trying to fight Boots straight away after being gone so long?
that is for the kind of money that Jermell Charlo would want, because he's not going to do it for just any kind of money. If you're asking for that guy specifically, it's because you're hoping Eddie will kick out a small fortune to you,
He's not.
so that you can then disappear for another 2-3 years blowing through the money until you need some again. Said it in my previous video. I don't even know that Jermell Charlo should be charting a course back to the junior middleweight division, because now in his mid-30s, having not made that weight in such a long time, he can probably get back down there, but not healthy, not match fit. Whereas going to 160 and starting something up at 160, all those guys at 154 are going to eventually move up to 160. You want to have a belt by the time that happens.
Go after Laura. You're willing to call out your old buddy, Errol Spence Jr. You say you're willing to fight Boots Ennis, then you should be willing to fight Laura. Lift the WBA title from Laura.
Become WBA champion yourself. So by the time all those kids at junior middle move up the middle, they've got to come see you. You know eventually they're going to. All of them. Sebastian Fundora, Xander Zayas, Boots Ennis eventually.
Virgil Ortiz eventually.
You don't have the fountain of youth. You can't turn back the hands of time, but what you can do is get a head start on them by going to 160, because you know eventually they're gonna go there.
Beat him to the punch.
So it's like I've been saying, if Jermell Charlo ain't come back yet, it's because he really doesn't want to. What he wants is a shortcut to a big purse, a big bag, and that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened yet.
He's not too old to ramp up a comeback, believe it or not. If he's really serious, there's an opportunity there, but like I've been saying,
Can't get too hung up on things that Jermell or his brother says, because the both of them, they're the talkative type. They say a lot of things.